For once, Prince Edward was at ease in front of the cameras. He was in jovial mood as he held hands with Sophie Rhys-Jones at St. James's Palace in January 1999, announcing their engagement. Sophie's smile dazzled almost as much as the fabulous diamond engagement ring she was showing off, which was believed to have cost Edward £105,000. "If it catches the sun, you'll be blinded," he warned photographers, adding, "Diamonds are a girl's best friend, so I'm told." The news of a royal wedding was a national pick-me-up after a series of royal scandals. Who would design the wedding dress? Who would be on the guest list? The couple were keen to make the wedding as fun and informal as possible, so they were opting for an early evening ceremony, meaning no need for hats for the ladies and no military dress and chest full of medals for the men. With all eyes on the arrangements for the ceremony at St. George's Chapel, Windsor Castle, no one cottoned on to Sophie's discreet visits to a Harley Street clinic run by Zeta West, the baby whisperer. Finding the right moment to marry amid years of family upheaval, Charles and Diana's separation and divorce, the breakup of Andrew and Sarah's marriage, and Diana's death, meant that Sophie was 34 by the time she walked up the aisle. She was keen to start her family and painfully aware of her biological clock. Ms. West believed general well-being enhanced a woman's prospects of getting pregnant. She had advised Kate Winslet, Kate Blanchett, Ulrika Johnson, and Diana. The natural therapies included Pilates, yoga, general birth counseling, and acupuncture. In late 2001, to Sophie's delight, she found herself expecting a baby. By December, 6 weeks into the pregnancy, she and Edward were preparing to tell friends and family the good news. It was a month before Sophie's 37th birthday. But then, on a dull Wednesday evening, she started to suffer serious stomach pains. By the early hours of the morning, she was doubled up in agony and, in a frantic state, woke her husband. Edward acted decisively. He called Dr. Richard Thompson, head of the Queen's medical staff, who suspected Sophie might be having an ectopic pregnancy, where the fertilized egg implants itself outside the womb, usually in a fallopian tube. Sometimes this can be corrected naturally, but not in cases where the woman is in sudden and absolute pain. Dr. Thompson called the Thames Valley and Chiltern Air Ambulance. The red helicopter landed on the lawn of the couple's new marital home, Bagshot Park, south of Windsor, and Sophie was whisked off for immediate surgery at King Edward VII's Hospital, 500 yards from Zeta's clinic in Marylebone. Sophie was in theater for 3 hours and required 5 pints of blood. The full paramedic team in the helicopter meant no room for Edward, so he drove to London, stopping off at Buckingham Palace to tell the Queen and Prince Philip what was happening. Dramatic reports that Sophie's condition was life-threatening were not over the top. A bland statement from Buckingham Palace saying she was comfortable was medically true. But in reality, Sophie was distraught and said to be very tearful. Outside the hospital, Edward bravely, yet haltingly, addressed the media. "It's obviously a very traumatic time, and my wife it's quite the most painful thing anyone can undergo. It's a pretty traumatic experience." While Sophie recovered, a statement was issued on her behalf. "I am obviously very sad, but it was just not meant to be. But there will be other chances." The nurses have been unbelievably fantastic. Ironically, this sad episode started the process of turning Sophie into a formidable campaigner. When she got engaged nearly 3 years earlier, she had no intention of becoming a working royal. "I see my role as a supporting one to Edward, rather than rushing off and forging my own path and taking on various charities," she said. "The Queen and the rest of the royal family do an exceptional job in a public role anyway, and I don't see a massive need to go out there and do the same thing." Now, however, Sophie began to realize that she could do more than give token support to the charities and services that had helped her. Top of that list was the air ambulance service, whose prompt and decisive action had probably saved her life. With Edward, she attended a fundraising dinner where she could personally thank the pilot, Andy Busby, and the lead paramedic, Tim Goddard. Her support for air ambulances around the country has not wavered over the years, and she was very encouraging to Prince William when he became a pilot for the East Anglian Air Ambulance Service in 2015. Slowly, she also returned to the public stage. The sad early months of 2002 were forgotten, or at least put to one side, as celebrations began that June for the Queen's Golden Jubilee. The highlight for many of the 12,000 people watching from Buckingham Palace Gardens was Queen guitarist Brian May blasting out the national anthem from the roof of the palace. Sophie was one of 20 members of the royal family who gathered on the palace balcony to watch a fly past and acknowledge thousands of flag wavers. Privately, she had not lost her desire to start a family, and under the supervision of Sir Marcus Setchell, the royal gynecologist, she began IVF treatment. Her ectopic pregnancy had reduced the chances of a natural conception, so IVF seemed a sensible option for Sophie. Charles had 2 children, so did Anne and Andrew, so she could be forgiven for thinking she and Edward needed to get cracking. The first 2 IVF treatments were not successful. Could it be third time lucky?